Hi, this is Allison Durant coming to you from my studio in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of art therapy, relaxing art, very abstract play with mostly watercolors, but I might mix it up with some acrylics and possibly even collage. We'll just kind of see where the video takes us. I have a book in front of me, How to Be More Tree, Essential Life Lessons for Perennial Happiness, illustrated by Davidson. On the back it says, be more flexible, be more patient, be more positive, be more tree. What I like to do is just kind of flip through. I'm closing my eyes even though you can't see me. I'm not cheating, and I'm just gonna pick a page. And here we go. I'm gonna read this off and you can just see how it feels for you to hear these words today. This particular page says, don't be wasteful. This is the black tupelo tree. Trees are great teachers of how to make the most of our resources and use what we have as efficiently as possible. For example, trees such as the black tupelo might look like they're just showing off with their blazing autumn leaf displays, but they are in fact being admirably frugal. Before they chuck away their leaves, deciduous trees make sure to recycle anything that might be useful for next year. They reabsorb the green chlorophyll, which leaves behind the yellow and orange colors of chemicals called carotenoids, and the red and purple hues of anthocyanins. Recycling never looked so good. It's funny that I would open to this page today because in Calgary here, it is getting warmer. Tomorrow's supposed to be super cold again, but we've had a couple really gorgeous warmer days, and I have spring fever. It's been a long winter and I'm ready for those warmer temperatures, and I have been doing some spring cleaning, some spring weeding, and I run into the issue of not wanting to be wasteful and probably wasting because of it, if that makes sense. So, you know, knowing that there's a lot of stuff I need to donate and give a new life to, you know, artwork that I need to revisit and either paint over or decide if maybe it's something someone else can use, if it's supplies and whatnot. So this has been really on my mind. And I think as a human, and I was going to say an artist. I think, again, that's not applicable to all creatives and all artists, but I think when you start to dive into your creativity, you also problem solve really well, and you create with the things in your surroundings, and you come up with new ideas, and you invent new things. You create art. You bring something that wasn't in the world into the world through creating with what you have. And for me, I know my tendency is to hold on to things. You know, I have a lot of clothes that I need to donate that I don't wear. Sometimes spring cleaning historically meant me, you know, I would organize drawers, and I would still really hold on to a lot that I know could probably have a better life somewhere else with someone else. But I would hold on to it and I would just like tidy it and, you know, organize it. This year is really different though. I just have this feeling that the clutter is sort of starting to wear on me mentally. And that is why a couple videos ago, I decided to show you my process of, with all those paintings that I used as practice. You know, well, this is an example of one here that I had just started to paint over and almost breathe new life into, because if it's just going to sit in a drawer, you know, it's just paper, but it can become a beautiful piece of art that can go back out into the world. I'm really trying to go to all of those unfinished works and put my heart into finishing them and letting go. And that process, that in my art practice, has been so useful in the practice of cleaning out my home environment, my home. And, you know, I struggle with almost holding on to things, which I am probably again, they're not being used. It is wasteful, even though it feels like holding on to it is less wasteful. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm really in a spring cleaning mode right now, and I feel like this process of letting go through art has helped me in my life simplify my closet space. Just tackling one small thing at a time, whether it's a drawer or the space. I know with my personality, I'm holding on to things, and I feel better when I let them go and they have a place. So that's kind of drawn out, but that's what I'm thinking today with the warmer weather and spring and how they call it spring cleaning. I'm spring weeding and really trying to provide life to some of the things elsewhere. And I think, again, art has really helped me let go, not just, let go. Okay, I'm going to start painting because I get sidetracked very easily. I'm just wondering what you thought of when you saw that card. And today, so I'll tell you, I had recorded a video just a couple days ago, and my phone storage space was so low, and I had recorded over 45 minutes only to find out that it had turned black, and I made sure it was plugged in, but long story short, I had lost the video and I had to really do a good spring clean of my phone storage and my video storage and space. And I had pulled this card during the past video that I had done, and I almost just want to sit with this card again about being present. I feel like art really keeps me present in the moment. And is there something in your life that helps you stay present, where you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking too far ahead, you're just in the moment, with all of your senses. Right now, I obviously am concentrating on a video, but because I'm creating with you all, I'm also in the process of being present and learning to, for instance, appreciate. I can feel a little breeze come in right now with the window open. I can hear some birds. I hear cars going by. And I don't often take the time, unless I'm painting, to really think of my senses, other than being, maybe a bit more tied to my phone than I want to be, or constantly thinking about what I'm doing next. And, is your creative practice keeping you present? Do you feel like it is relaxing and you enjoy it, and you really are just thinking about the next step in your creative process? In my last video, I was saying how my husband likes to do rock climbing and wall climbing, and that is his way of staying present. And we talked about how we both kind of find a flow in, for him, it's climbing as a sport. He just finds that flow by, especially being outside with, again, the breeze, feeling like each next move he makes on the wall is well thought out, and that's all he's thinking about, is the positioning of his feet and his hands, and thinking about not what happened yesterday or what he's up to in the next few days. He's just tuned out, he's in his flow. And I think about that with art. Every next move is the only thing that I'm thinking about. So, what kind of keeps you present? So I use the analogy of climbing when, if I say, like, there's something called the crux with climbing, where if you're getting to a point where it's really hard and you're problem solving, that's all you're thinking about, is that like one next move. And I think as artists, we all often do that, or I do that, where the crux is like, it being in, say, a phase where it's not complete. It's, something I still like, but it's just not complete. And staying present and in my flow and completing it is like solving the crux for my husband when he's climbing. So I'm kind of like connecting art, I suppose, with connecting creativity with, how do I say, like being in the flow with something that you love doing, something that just keeps you engaged, all your senses there. And it doesn't have to be a sport or an art practice. I mean, it can be as simple as, you know, just having a really great hot shower, or really great, people are doing those ice baths, or, you know, just something that is keeping you mindfully present. And oh, and I was just gonna say, yeah, for him, just solving the crux. So for me, I happen to have this painting in front of me, and how awesome it is to feeling like you have finished something. So I get like such a dopamine rush from being in the flow, being present. But then when it comes together, when my husband solves the crux and gets to the top of wherever he's planning on going, you know, that journey is just so, so awesome. And I just relate my serotonin and dopamine from my art process like his, you know, his climbing. But it can really relate to anything, right? It's about the journey, not the destination. I really feel like, okay, I just need to start painting right now. Did I tell you all that I was thinking about painting watercolor butterflies today? I have some really beautiful books, and I mean, there's just so many butterflies, you know, all over the world, different varieties. Artists, you know, use butterflies often in their work. Just this page I happened to turn to. This is called Print Pattern Nature, Bowie Style. I really love this book. I had splurged on this a long time ago here at Indigo Canada. And I actually realized these look like moss, don't they? But we're going to be painting just abstract, you know, whether it's a butterfly or a moth. We're going to just go with what our brush shape is today. So I happen to be using my number 12 round Princeton watercolor brush. You can use any brush. You can use an acrylic brush. You can use, I love these really affordable Crayola brushes. This is just as good for what we're doing today. Just getting the shape down and kind of getting out of our head and finding flow through painting basic shapes that, you know, if we want to make more realistic, we can, but not putting that pressure on ourselves. So I just love this green. I use green quite often in my work. This page is really, really beautiful. I don't paint butterflies that often, but I really love them in art. My mom loves butterflies. I think of her when I'm out and about and I see butterflies. We often are thinking of the same thing at the same time, and then later we'll chat and we realized we, you know, happened to be at the store and just bought something we hadn't bought in years, but we were thinking of it, and I'd be like, I just bought that too. And I feel like we have that, just that mother-daughter connection, ESP. Here's some gorgeous butterflies on this page. And I could look at this book all day. I just wanted to show you, of course, there's so much variety in butterflies. It's just so fun to think you can just create your own. The other book I wanted to show you is called the Botanist Sticker Anthology book. And I often get my royalty-free images, so because I'm not as comfortable drawing certain things, I go to the Biodiversity Heritage Library, which has over 2 million botanicals, animals, just images that are royalty-free, and they have their own, it's called the Biodiversity Heritage Library. And I believe a lot of the reference images that you can download for free are through Flickr. So it's a little bit complicated. Today I had tried to find some butterfly images so I could reference them directly for you, but Flickr wanted me to sign up to the Biodiversity Heritage Library. So Flickr is like the holder of images, both royalty-free and images that you would pay for and subscribe to. And of course, whether they're royalty-free or not, you want to make sure that the artist gets acknowledged, or the photographer. Some of the images are from the 1800s and 1900s, and there's not a lot of history that goes with them. The reason I'm flipping through this book is I see some really sweet little butterflies that I'm gonna just pop out onto my page, just as a little reference, only for the shape. And this particular publisher was Penguin Random House, and I see that they thanked the Biodiversity Heritage Library and used 616 images in here as stickers from the Biodiversity Heritage Library. There was 5 from the Brooklyn Museum. There was also 6 from an internet archive. I won't get into all the detail. The cover image was from the Biodiversity Heritage Library. So this is a free image library that you can use, and you can transfer these images and use them in your art, which is like amazing. It's so incredible. And I have flipped through the Biodiversity Heritage Library in the past for images, and I just pulled one that I had printed probably a year or 2 ago. So this was just a whole page of butterflies. I don't see the year on here. I believe this was probably from the 1900s. All of the print, it tells the different types of butterflies down here. It's really, really hard to read, but I'm just using this to show you, if you have a beautiful background and you love butterflies, you can, you know, go to the Biodiversity Heritage Library and you can pick the size, save it to your computer, and you can print it and use it how you wish in your work. It's always good, of course, to reference the origin, the source, if you can, and it's really easy to find that because the way they've referenced the library, it puts as much detail as, you know, with the year and who is the photographer, the artist, and whatnot. And I use black carbon paper to transfer my butterfly images, so that's what this little package is. And there's so many different ways you can transfer an image onto your page or onto art. So do consider looking up the different ways, because I won't get into that today. I will be way too distracted if I go down that rabbit hole. And I just thought, though, this is such a gorgeous, like, look at this page. These are, is this a sticker? Oh my gosh, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous sticker. Isn't that beautiful? I want to put that on the front of one of my art journals. That's gorgeous. You can even put that as a cover on your laptop. It's a great sticker. Or, you know, cut out even. I was just thinking you could cut it out for your iPhone as well. So lots, I'm totally already going off track with just all these gorgeous botanicals in here. There's another butterfly. Here's a couple, or moth. To be honest, I have to learn about the difference between moths and butterflies. And that's just, again, not where we're going today with this video. So I'll let you do your own research. But the possibilities are endless with color and with shape. And I'm just gonna take some and just put them on the side of my page just for reference. These are really high quality stickers, so I can easily take them off my page when I need to. I like this one because it's sort of in a different position. We'll see if we can just find one that's maybe going down and to the left. Good luck trying to find that, right? Oh, oh, oh. Well, I needed that luck today. Here it is. That's awesome. So that one's kind of going down. I'll just put it right up here. Okay. So again, that was the Botanist sticker anthology. I'll also show you another book from them. If I can find it on my bookshelf. Where is it? Okay, I don't know where I put it, but I do have several books. Oh, sorry to bump you. It just wouldn't be a video by Alison Durant if I didn't bump you. I'm just making sure you're awake over there. Okay, so this is a great book. There are probably 4 or 5 similar sticker anthology books, so do take a peek at that if you have the opportunity. And you're gonna need a basic watercolor set. I'm going to use this awesome Beam paint palette. I just love this little palette. I use this for travel. I just keep it out all the time for my son and I to use, you know, when he gets home from school. It's just so awesome to have this little palette sitting out. If you're not familiar with watercolor, this is great because you can get it wet, you can paint with it, and then you don't have to cover it. I'm in a really dry place in Calgary, but it's just awesome. You can reactivate it with water anytime. So when I say I'm activating my watercolors, oops, this water bottle I forgot he had been playing with outside. That is not working. I have several water bottles. This one's empty. I have to fill it up. And this one, whew, I'm just gonna, it's such a big water bottle, so I'm just gonna get my watercolor palette really wet. I love Beam paints from Manitoulin Island. They're a Canadian company, Indigenous owned. I'm gonna grab a paper towel. Okay, so I'm going to set my palette just over here because I'm right-handed, and hopefully you can all see. I might zoom you in, so just bear with me for a moment. I'm going to take you down. Okay, so we'll start with just some basic watercolor shapes. And if you're new to painting with a round brush or any brush, this is a really good opportunity to just test it out. So I have my little water container here. Just gonna create a bit of space. I've got a lot on the go as usual. And make sure you're all in my camera angle. I always tilt my paper a little bit depending on what I'm doing. And I have some collage here I thought we could maybe incorporate. So I'm just gonna dip into, this is my very, very cheap plastic watercolor palette that I just decorated with washi tape and a sticker of my painting titled "And There You'll Be." And I just thought I would fancy it up. I really don't use these the way other watercolor artists probably use them, but I'm gonna start trying. I initially thought you put the tube watercolor along here, and so you can see that I squeezed it in, and then I was watching someone that has much more watercolor experience, and I was like, oh, that's actually the place where you do the mixing. And but it doesn't matter, does it? So it's all going onto the paper. And so I'm just gonna start with a color craving exercise. So you can see, wow, I have so much water. I'm just gonna drip this onto my palette. I got excited with the water, that big spray bottle. And so I'm just gonna get that blue, that gorgeous blue onto my palette. So just pick a color that you really love. And what you could do, this is just sort of preference. If you have a permanent pen or a pencil, I like to use pencil sometimes. Oops, this one is broken. Actually, that's quite close together. I'm gonna put this one here. You can start, if you wanted to do almost like the body of the butterfly. It's 3 parts, but I kind of like to just make an abstract line, because this is just about getting out of our head and craving certain colors And oh, you know what? I'm gonna plug you guys in today because I do not want to lose this video. So I'm just gonna plug you in, hold it still. Okay, oh. Okay, I'll just make sure that that's plugged in. So you can get out your supplies. Okay, there we go. It's so funny. I take like 2 days off of doing a video and then I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, I have this blue on my brush and I'm just gonna kind of use these as a very much just a reference. And I'm liking that already without doing anything to it. So all I'm doing is I'm not worried about symmetry. I'm not worried about anything other than putting a color on my brush that I love and getting it onto the page in sort of an abstract way. So I could choose another color for the bottom of this one, which I think I'm going to. I'm going to keep all of that beautiful blue on my brush and I'm just going to push down on it and see what shape I get. I really like, you know, this is not typical. It's not like a rounded shape and I quite like that. I'm going to just flip to my left hand and kind of try and do the same motion on that side for symmetry this time. So it's all about play. And then what I'll do is I'm just going to mix in, I want more of a, you know, I'm not going to clean my brush. I'm just going to dip right in. Okay, no, I am going to clean my brush just because of this little palette here. I'm going to dip into the orange. And I'm just going to put the orange underneath and just touch the blue and pull it down. And then on this side, just touch the blue and pull it down and not overthinking it, because right now I'm like, okay, I could, you know, the wings are really overriding the body, but that's okay because I can just go back to it and lengthen the body. And I can always do details after with like antennas. But this exercise, I want you to just think about as absolute relaxation. You don't even have to do the body. So I'm just going to push down with my round brush and go with the shape that it gives me. I'm going to tilt my hand and then do another one. This almost looks like it's flying down. And just not overthinking it. I'm going to dip into this really pretty opera pink, which I think was a Daniel Smith watercolor. I really like pink. It brings me a lot of joy. So I'm going to get a lot of pink on my brush and I'm just going to maybe decide what angle. I'm just going to kind of go a little bit wider on the bottom and a little bit wider here, and then kind of squint my eyes and decide, you know, if that's a face-on orientation or maybe it's kind of, it will be in a certain direction, but not really caring, just thinking about getting the colors you love down. And then we can always go over top after with, you know, permanent pens, pencils, mark making tools. But I want you to, I almost feel like I'm a bit in my head today, so I'm just gonna dip into the color that I'm craving, almost like reset myself and not overthink it. What I really want to do right now is drop this red into the pink and maybe drop it down here in spots and just seeing what happens, seeing if I like those colors together. And if I like it, I know that I can repeat it. I can write little notes on the side after it dries. Or, you know, if I don't like it, not doing that again. And I'm just gonna maybe zoom you in. Okay, and we'll do just maybe another one. So I have that gorgeous red, and I'm just gonna kind of go push down a little bit more. My brush is really wide here. I have a lot of pigment. And then I'm gonna dip back in again and then just push out and down and just seeing what shape I get. I mean, that alone is beautiful. I don't even have to really add the bottom part if I don't want to. This time I'm just gonna tilt my brush downward. And it very much is an abstract butterfly. If you have water-soluble pencils, you know, you can buy these anywhere these days. This one, these happen to be Derwent pencils. I don't use these too often, but if I was just to dip the end of this water-soluble pencil, this yellow, into my water and just go right through here, I really like what happens. I really like the color. You can just sort of see some of the transparency of the watercolors that way and of the watercolor pencil. You can also use, you know, if I was to dip my pencil, my water-soluble pencil into water and just kind of loosely do a butterfly design, not overthinking it at all. This time I can just make the yellow the body. Maybe you're working with limited supplies. And then you can take your watercolor brush. This has a bit of red on it, I think. And then just kind of fill it in and let it dry and see what it gives you. And I'm not worried that it's mixing. And immediately I just feel like doing turquoise or green right over here. So I'm just gonna kind of mix the colors there. It's more like a lavender, but I'm just gonna put the brush down in a shape that just reminds me a little bit more of a real butterfly. So really, really wide there. And then maybe I'll just dip into this blue again and kind of like pull down here and go up, pull down here and go up. And not caring about the way the water is moving, just appreciating the brush and the beauty of the color, and how it dries is going to be pretty amazing. I see that I didn't do the lower wings on this one, so I can leave it like that. It looks great. People would know it's a butterfly. Again, this is just sort of for relaxation. But I just feel like I want to do a little bit of a bottom on here. And just the practice of doing this shows me this blue, the upper wings were dry, and it just gives me an idea of what the transparency of the watercolor looks like over top, and if I like that or not. And I do really like that. So if you can see that, you can just decide again if that's sort of something that you enjoy. So let's just do a few more. And sometimes working fast really helps. I'm gonna just dip into my yellow. And before I start a new butterfly, I'm just gonna look at the ones that are still wet and maybe drop in. With that, I dropped it in as though it was like a big, almost circular mark that's kind of moving out. But that would look amazing with line work over top with a permanent fine pen afterwards. And then maybe I want to add in the green to this red. And I know that when I mix two complementary colors like red and green, say blue and orange, yellow and purple, I get more of a neutral, like a muddy color. But I like that as well. I am gonna go into this beautiful kind of lilac color. And maybe your brush is not quite like mine, so whatever shape your brush is, just getting the color down, trying not to move it around too much. Here I'm gonna dip into the green. I'm gonna bring that green down. And sort of like I had done a video where we did botanicals. Just gonna move some stuff. Oh, I've got a crowded table. Just gonna zoom you back out. So these are just really, really beautiful loose butterflies, and hopefully you're starting to feel a little bit more relaxed with what you're doing. I don't use a flat brush very often, so this is a flat brush. It's called a wash brush. You know, these brushes are often used to do like a wash of color across a page. I was thinking when I did rainbows recently with you all, what a cool way to do a rainbow is not in the kind of traditional half U shape, but just across the page as a way of kind of relaxing. And you know, if you have a new set of watercolors, just how cool is that? And then to do mark making over top once it dries. So what I'm going to do is use this shape for the wings instead of the rounded brush shape. So I have quite a bit of color here I'm just going to dip into. These are mixing, which is great. And I'm just going to put my brush down in the shape of the brush. So I'm just going to get pigment and water on my brush, quite generous with both, and then just push down. And that is beautiful, if I do say so myself. Okay, and then I'm dipping into the turquoise, and again I'm just gonna do the same thing for the bottom, and it's just shapes. I can take the end of this and make it into an abstract body. So just another way of, instead of using a pen or a pencil, you can use this to make, I think they call it the thorax, like the body of the butterfly. And that's another sort of abstract way of doing it. I'm gonna get some green here. And then maybe instead of doing the full square motion of the brush, you know, just maybe doing the side and looking at what that gives you. That's kind of cool. It almost reminds me of like a fish swimming underwater, or like a dragonfly, or, you know, just a very abstract butterfly. And the beauty is, if you do neutral butterflies, you can go in with color if you want. You can go in with just black and white mark making, which can be really effective. So again, this video is mostly to kind of show you how to do it with just an intention of relaxation. I'm gonna switch to my other book now, and we're gonna work a little bit faster. So we'll just see where to put this. Set this over here. And again, these flowers were done very much with just the brush I had in my hand, and sort of almost trying to do a triangular motion, but not overthinking it, and then going back with mark making to make it look maybe more like something of a botanical I would find interesting. So I'm working in my Canson mixed media journal, 98 pounds, just like the other one. And I'm just gonna reposition for a second. And we're just gonna dive right in. So I think my comfort is working with a round brush. So I'm gonna just clean this square brush, this flat brush. And well, I'll show you an example like of the Crayola Crayola dollar store round brush. I'm just gonna dip it in water here. And again, go into my paints and just putting, say, a mark down that looks like the side of a butterfly. And then maybe the same color and doing that on the other side, and maybe touching. This pattern in itself is really interesting, just with the way the brush is well loved, so it's not like a really clean rounded edge, like, you know, a higher quality well taken care of brush. Maybe on the bottom of that I'll use a yellow. We have a lot of construction in our neighborhood, so I'm just gonna close the window. I couldn't imagine editing out all of these noises. As you know, I work best if I don't edit my videos, otherwise I just wouldn't have time. And I really love that you all seem to love an unedited videos, so I appreciate that. And so right now, this is just, I mean, these could be flowers. They could, you know, you could turn them into flowers. We could add like the yellow on the side here, maybe another yellow petal here. What is sort of something that actually looks like a Hawaiian flower to me. And, you know, so this is just about getting out of your head, getting familiar with your brush and whatever watercolors you have, and just enjoying the process. So I'm gonna just dip into that really pretty blue from Beam Paints that I had on my palette, get a bit more blue on my round brush. And this time I might do it a bit differently. I'm just gonna push down on it, and maybe, I think I'll repeat that along here. I'm leaving a bit of room between my images, so if I want to cut them out, I can. And then I'm gonna go into, you know, I'm in the habit of cleaning my brush, but I didn't have to. I'm gonna dip into this beautiful gold and maybe do like a more rounded bottom with my round brush, and just not overthinking it, because we can go back and add mark making details. I am gonna swap out my water, so I might, I'm gonna put all my pencil shavings in here. This is risky, and then I'm gonna just give this out a little bit of a clean. And good thing my son left this super large water bottle here, because I'll just, instead of running to the kitchen or the sink, we'll just fill this up. And my comfort is to go back to my Princeton round watercolor brush. I like this one, but it's just, I want to show you sort of a variation of sizes. And this one has a little bit more control. Oh, I hope you could all see that. Okay, so we're basically doing a repetitive pattern of shapes in colors that we love. So I'm gonna dip into this turquoise. And I'm just gonna kind of go out as to do a bit of an oval. And that one actually I touched together, which that's fine. It's just a variation, and I can determine if I like it. Then I'm gonna go into this apple green, and I'm just gonna go out and down, and whatever just is comfortable for the motion of my arm and my hand. And what I like to do at this point, when a lot of the watercolor is still wet, I like to clean off my brush and go into a darker color. So I am gonna find, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll mix this red into the blue. That's a gorgeous, gorgeous color. So we'll mix that, And I'm gonna drop it in a bunch of different areas. So I'm gonna just drop it in up here to that flower. I'm gonna drop it in here, just to the top maybe. And I'm gonna drop it in down here into the lower half of this butterfly. And I can see how the gold is drying already, but I really like the fact that it's almost become, this purple is like a mark making element instead of a flowy painted element, like wet on wet technique, I think some people would call it. I'm gonna add a little bit of this pink in here. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of that. And you know, I'm gonna stop because I have to admit, I really like the purple up here, but I don't like it as much in here. I'm gonna kind of complete it, but I wouldn't repeat it along there. So it's figuring out what you love and finding a way that you enjoy holding the brush, and maybe grabbing some paints that you haven't used in a while that are sitting around. Or, you know, I love to do this exercise when my son comes home from school, and usually both of us need to do something to kind of wind down. He has to wear an eye patch for 2 hours every day to strengthen one of his eyes. And, you know, he's in preschool, but he is getting homework and he's working on his numbers and letters. And I really love doing art with him because we kind of, we almost like merge the two together. Is I keep out the paints on the table and I also keep out his homework. And I think he feels, you know, if he starts painting and gets that little kind of creative break, you know, even if he paints on his homework book, which that's just fine with me because, you know, he was getting in trouble for doodling on his worksheets. Well, not in trouble, but it was really cute. They had this, the parents were all sent this worksheet and it had the kids draw a rule that they're supposed to follow and then do artwork of that rule. So for instance, like one of the rules would be stop at a red light, and then they would draw like a red light. And anyway, they all did about 3 rules: rules of the home, rules of, you know, the street, rules at school. And they were really, really funny to read. But he had one that he had this, it looked like he had drawn a square and there's all these scribbles and marks. And then his rule at school was no scribbling on worksheets. I think it's funny because at home I really encouraged him to like doodle and not really like scribble on work per se, but okay, I'm kind of sidetracking, but where am I going with this? It was just pretty cute. And then I ended up naming one of my recent abstract paintings. I titled it Scribbling on Worksheets because I really encouraged him to scribble on worksheets, and it was very much against what he had done at school as a school rule. And just me talking here, you can see I'm out of my head. So I'm creating, not really saying what I'm doing right now because I'm in the flow. Not on the side of the mountain like my husband, just in the flow with my paper in the comfort of my own home. I used to like climbing, but I'm still nowhere near the experience that he has or the love for it that he has. I like to have my feet on the ground, and especially since I had my son. So wall climbing is fine, but okay. So these, I just feel so much joy looking at this page. When you have finished, you know, the exercise, however you're doing it, hopefully you're not really following too many rules yourself, looking at what you love and taking notes, whether it's mental notes or little handwritten notes once this dries. You know, this is really a form of art journaling, what we're doing. I love this particular piece right here. I just want to go in and add a stem. So it's just following what my mind wants to do is grab my water-soluble crayon and just draw a stem. Maybe I'll just do that with a few of these other ones. So my butterflies are no longer butterflies there, and at the risk of smudging something, I'm just doing some little leaves, really loose, different directions, and just play. So I feel like this was a really fun experiment, and I never thought I would turn those into flowers. And there's so much more mark making I can do over top. I can also start mark making over some of the dried butterflies. So for instance, I'm just gonna take one of my paint pens and maybe I might just do polka dots, because it's just what I love to do in my work. It makes me happy. Just some polka dots on this lower part of the butterfly. So that's already dry. You can see I'm going outside the lines. I'm doing polka dots outside of where I'm supposed to. I'm gonna take a water-soluble pencil crayon in the same color of this upper, this very light turquoise. I'm gonna dip the end in my water just to get it a bit wet for interest. And I'm very loosely gonna just kind of go out on both sides and just see, oops, I smudged the black, but that's okay. Just kind of see what it looks like, how I feel, if I liked what I did. I do like what I did, and I feel like I could add line work in there. So I'm gonna just go back over top. And do a line. I really like both lines and polka dots in my art. And then maybe I'll take like a darker green or a brownish green and do, again, I'm dipping this one in. This is, I think, water soluble. It's a gold. You can use pencil. I'm just gonna dip it in the water and then kind of go like, just very, very abstract. Maybe I'll kind of go out here. And so that's an example of doing marks over top of almost dried watercolor. If you have some areas that are still wet, think of it as an opportunity to drop in a different color. So right now I've already dropped in that red over that yellow, but I'm going to drop in some blue. And if you like it, then you can do it to all of them in that row. But if you don't like it, I would, just think of it again as like you're just trying something on, seeing if you enjoy it. And so water-soluble pencil crayons are awesome, but if a pencil, just see if this one's broken, this one's okay. If a pencil is all you have, sometimes really loosely outlining the butterfly with a pencil can be a cool effect. So I'll just do this one down here. I'll just make sort of a loose body and then kind of going out and a bit of a wiggle, more of a realistic look. And then just kind of seeing what you have. If you wanted to, you could fill in some of the lines to make it look that initially maybe it was more intentional, even though it wasn't. So, just kind of adding in, I'm adding in that beautiful red over top there, and you could just even add it down there. Really, really loose. I like work that is abstract and loose, and immediately I find that really appealing. Since I have that red on my brush, I might go maybe over top of this one and just pull it out a little bit. Make the top wings larger. And already I'm really liking that one better than those other three. Maybe I want to turn this one into a flower like I did above. I'm just going to grab some yellow, and I don't care if this is not fully dry. It can just be really interesting, even if it's not. And I'm just really pulling the line kind of up and out, giving it a bit of a ruffle on the side and then coming down. And I can pull out a bit of that red and go back up, and then right here, and even draw a line through there. Whoops, that was a little bit there. And so I recommend not doing it like me where they're really close together, just so you can, you know, if you are going to cut them out, you have that room. And whoops. So the possibilities of this play, this exploration, really, they're endless. And what I would do now is maybe, I'm just seeing how we are for time, 55 minutes. I'm going to let this one dry and then go back, and we're going to do another page. And I'll just see if I have another, well, you know what I'll do right now? I am going to switch over to, I have a different idea. So I have this little art journal, which is kind of falling apart. I don't even remember what course I did, how I made it. I think it's called a concertina journal, maybe, with some invention of me putting in pages because I didn't really know what I was doing. But I like that it doesn't have, it's not it's not like a proper book. I'm really hoping it does stay together, but let's just, I was working on these pages. I really like this page. I really enjoy these two pages, and this one I'm not going to put a butterfly on, but I'm thinking, I didn't know what to do on this page. So I'm going to put a butterfly here. I want to show you how to transfer an image. So you're going to need some transfer paper, which you can get probably just, you know, your local art store, craft store. It's just called transfer paper. There's videos that will show you how to make this type of thing, but I find it tedious. I'd rather just buy it. And you know, you can really get away with using one sheet a lot. Like, I think I'll probably have a pack for my lifetime. You can reuse these, or at least I do. So you take the carbon side down, you decide where you want your image. I'm just gonna put a big butterfly here. This is my royalty-free image that I want to transfer onto my page. And you know, what I would do if this was my first time, I might actually cut out the transfer paper to fit more easy on the page, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to pick a butterfly. This one is too big to go on. This one's really pretty. Maybe I'll do that one. So what I'm going to do is just decide, okay, what orientation? That flower's going this way. I think I'm just going to put it on, I want the butterfly, this butterfly, to be right here. Putting the black side of the paper, the shiny side, the transfer side down. I'm going to put the butterfly on, and I'm going to grab, I can grab a pen, a pencil, and I'm really going to loosely do the body, do the antennas, and I'm not really overthinking this too much. I'm not going to lift up my page. I'm just loosely going around to get a bit of a design. And I don't want it to be perfect. I just want to use this as an example to get my creative juices flowing. I feel like I can peek at it now if I wanted, but I might just take it a little further. And we'll see what we get. Whoa, that came out really well. That's really dark. I love that. So what I can do now is basically, if you think of this as, you know, a piece of paper that was going to be tossed out, this has become, you know, a background that's super cool, just with a little bit of collage from paper. Or I had done a video where I had painted over a whole bunch of old pieces of artwork on paper to make collage paper for future paintings. So this collage paper has history. I can see I was playing with stencils. I love this color. I just gave it new life. And what I want to do now is decide what colors I want this butterfly to be. I like to use Posca pens. This is a Japanese paint pen. This is bronze in a medium point. I just find it easy to do my butterflies with that bronze body. I like the look of the bronze. So if these were dry, I would probably, this one's dry, I'm just gonna add in bronze. You can do gold, you can do black. You don't have to do a body. That's just something I have kind of learned to really enjoy in my work. Oh, I have a rainbow on my hand now. So I have the body. I'm not going to go into the detail of the head and the thorax and the abdomen, which I believe are the scientific terms. Probably my preschooler knows better than I do. I really want this to stand out. So I'm gonna, you know what, I am gonna grab a blue Posca pen. I'm gonna get my Japanese paint pens. I grabbed some colors that I feel like would look good. Just from my experience with my own art, I know that this blue acrylic paint pen would be beautifully vibrant. And what I'm doing is I'm not, how do I say, I'm not really being too particular with the line work. I'm just doing a very abstract outline. You can see I'm not really doing any pattern. I'm just getting the idea of the butterfly down. I want to do the main part of the wing in this green because I think it will show up nicely. And we'll just do that. And I'm sort of filling out the wing a little bit on that side and doing it here. And just so you know, with paint pens, you never want to go over top of a paint pen unless it's dry. So I'm kind of trying to stay away from this blue that I just put on just so I don't wreck my pens. So before I do those inner marks, I'm just going to let that green dry. And I might do this bottom part green without touching the blue. Normally I don't work this fast. Like I would let my art dry, work on something else and come back to it, even for something this simple. But because I'm on video, I want to be fairly quick at showing you what I'm doing. So I have this butterfly. I'm gonna add little, with the pencil, add some more of an antenna. I could just kind of go around the body a little bit. If I wanted, I could really loosely kind of outline it with pencil. And just so it looks a little bit more messy, abstract, like it doesn't look like I transferred an image. So just going back, you can see that this was the image from the Biodiversity Heritage Library, and you can go to a site called Flickr and search the Biodiversity Heritage Library. I believe you have to be a member of Flickr, but it should be free. You don't have to pay. I still have to do some research because they've changed the search engines, but this image, it looked like this, and now it's here on your page, your painting, your art journal. It's really just a cool way to, if you're not comfortable drawing, getting an image down. And you can also get white transfer paper if you are using black paper as your underside. So I'll just show you, here's some palette paper that I had recently let dry and I'm going to use to cut up for collage. Again, black paper. I'm going to cut this up. This is from my prior video where you saw me. I had a palette that was drying and I needed to change it out. And instead of wasting it, I put my black paper down and I smushed it and I got these really cool patterns. I see a butterfly wing right here. I see one here I could cut out. Maybe we'll have time for collage today. I don't know. Once this paint pen is more dry, so I'm gonna add, I love this turquoise. This is just called Aqua Green, my Japanese paint pen. And I'm just gonna go in with some of those lines over here. And maybe just do some dots, polka dots. I like polka dots just around the edge. And there is our butterfly. So this page already looks quite beautiful. I really love adding words. And so whatever comes to my mind, I'm gonna be careful not to smudge this, but I'm just gonna say, come fly. Come fly with me. And when this dries, the butterfly, I'll go back over top with the pen because it's really hard to see, but I like how subtle that is. I love this permanent studio gel pen over top of the acrylic background that we had done. So this is just kind of, this page is distracting me a little bit, but just looking at this page, it's really quite beautiful. I might, just to tie the page together, I like the idea of maybe doing like, I don't know, another kind of abstract butterfly, maybe over here. Could be a flower. It's all kind of the eye of the beholder. So hopefully, oops, I hope I had you in the screen there. And, you know, maybe I've already added metallics, but maybe I'll do some metallic down in this area here, in that pattern, just for interest. And so really I'm kind of working on a journal page now with you all. I'm gonna add maybe a little bit of metallic, more dots in there. And I probably will change something to gold just so it mixes it up a bit. But that's an example of a transferred image over a background and turning a page into something that you might really like a lot better than what it was. So I'll set that one aside, and we could always do maybe just a little bit of collage. Let me see, I'm gonna find my, this is pretty dry now. Maybe what we'll do is, because I have my bronze Posca pen, deciding how you know, if you want to do a body on the butterfly, if you want to turn them into flowers, how do you want to finish them? So for me, I can see I'm probably going to smudge my hand in there, but I really do just like the gold for the body. So I'm just going to kind of go in and add the body in some of these. I'll just zoom you out for a second, and you can just go wild with stripes, with polka dots, with making them more realistic, with, you know, adding contrast. So again, I don't want to smudge too much, you know, but if I go up here, I could do a black body in this one. And I'm just sort of making it bigger. And then just kind of giving it new life, making it very abstract. I'm gonna add the antennas with the fine pen, so playing with thick pen, playing with thinner pen. And I love the idea of doing collaged butterflies. So maybe what I'll do is I can cut up my palette paper and we'll see what we can do. I'm not really loving this page. I could I could glue a butterfly, just trying to decide. And what I'll do, I am gonna grab, maybe I'll do another page in this art journal. I think that's dry enough, so I'm just gonna put that down. And maybe we can do a collage butterfly here. Is this little book gonna open for me? There we go. This background is quite busy, but that's okay. I really like busy art journals more than I like a busy finished piece of art to hang on my wall, because art journals are just so much fun when they're busy. I cannot find scissors, so I'm just gonna find some colors that would stand out on this background. So I'm gonna just rip off. I see almost like a wing right here. When you start doing these little exercises, you almost see the shapes where you, in your everyday life, like I almost see this as being a butterfly right here. Just gonna decide, okay, I don't know if you all can see that, but I could see the body being, how do I explain it? We're probably seeing different things. So I am looking at, I'm gonna get my, kind of like in that direction. Okay, that wasn't helpful. I'm gonna take the pencil off and I'm gonna get my glue stick and we're gonna glue this down. So you can use a glue stick, you can use matte medium, you can use Yes Paste. I like to use non-toxic supplies. I'm gonna have that kind of pointed that way because I feel like the thorax, abdomen, and head are gonna be along that diagonal. And what I might do, so I'm gonna just do my black pen. So that is what I see. And I see the butterfly going that way. And I'm just gonna take my permanent pen and kind of going out here and here, and then kind of loosely drawing it. And then what you can do, I'm gonna use an orange. I'm gonna use this orange and then maybe just do, I'm gonna push down just so I get a fair bit of paint coming out of this paint pen. So this is again a Japanese Posca acrylic paint pen. You give them a really good shake. Well, you put the cap on, shake them up, and then you push them down gently. And you can just kind of decide what marks you want to have on your butterfly. I really love those white splatter marks. You could maybe emphasize, maybe I'll emphasize this top part just like that, and maybe just darken that wing with black just to add contrast to make it stand out. I'd be curious, you all, when you're watching this, whether you're working on your own artwork, whether it's butterflies, botanicals, something completely different, what you're seeing when you see me kind of doing this. It's really cool how we all see colors differently, images differently. And I'll just add, What color do I want to do? I really want to do that turquoise again. And I would add maybe tiny white dots into the black, but because it's not dry yet, I won't do that. I'm gonna do maybe a little bit of orange on that back wing, which is not collage. And I'm squinting my eyes, and maybe I'm just gonna add some irregular, I don't know if I like that better or not, irregular mark making that turquoise, but I'm committed. And it's just an art journal, right? This is an old piece of palette paper that would have been thrown out. And so we're giving it new life. And I may just go with gold over the body when the black is dry. And again, kind of like coming out. The antenna is really loose, thin lines. And I'll zoom you back in. So that is where we are at with our collage. And then we could maybe do another one beside it. So just seeing, okay, that orange is really pretty, this orange here. It's a gorgeous, huge wing. Deciding how I want to do that. Maybe I'll kind of go coming down that way. And maybe we want to do a full butterfly. You know, we could do this. Let's just find another color. You know, it doesn't matter that the colors of the wings, you can always change them up with covering them up later. I like that they're asymmetric. Just gonna see that, maybe kind of go in, get that shape back to a butterfly shape. So yeah, I think I'm gonna probably do that. This background is not the best. It would be nice to have a background with more contrast. Maybe I'll just use white for the purpose of the video today. I think it will be easier for you all to see. So I'm cutting up my palette paper, my Stay Wet palette. Some people use paper plates as palettes. Some have professional palettes. Some use wood. I use a variety, but this was when I first started using acrylic paints. I was painting really large canvases, and I often like to work outdoors in the summer. There's a very short window working outside here in Calgary because it tends to be, you know, we get Chinooks, it can get very windy, and we can go from winter to summer all in the same day. Right now it is gorgeous and sunny, and it was like probably 17 degrees yesterday, and tomorrow I think it's going to be -7 or colder with snow. And so, oh, I was talking about my palette, but because I paint outdoors in, you know, all weather conditions, I have to be able to run outside with my palette, paint the painting, paint the background, whatever, and then come back inside. And so I bought a really large Stay Wet palette. I also have a small one, which I can show you is right here. It's by a company called Mastersons, and I really like this small one. I tend to, even when I paint large, my Mastersons Stay Wet Handy palette is much better. I'm starting a new one because the old one is what we are cutting up right now. And I'm talking, I'm not really thinking, I'm not being too particular with my collage shapes. Hopefully you have some old paintings on paper that you can cut up and figure out, you know, if you can turn into a butterfly or a botanical. you almost don't want to call it what it is until you're done. And then it gives you the freedom to change your mind. Okay, so there is my very, very abstract collage butterfly. And I can add in, I'm trying to think of how, I don't know butterflies super well, but you can kind of bring them together with mark making. This is wild. Okay, I don't know if I like that, but that's okay. Committed. I don't really know how to do the pattern of a butterfly, so I think I need a bit of an outline. I'm gonna just go out. I'm gonna go up and out and kind of down and across. Okay. And what I really love to do, because I showed you my Stay Wet palette, let's just see what color I have in here. I have this really, really light blue that's calling my name. I'm gonna wet it a little bit more, and I'm gonna go to maybe a small mixed media flat brush. I think I'll do that. I got my brush wet. I'm gonna go into that gorgeous periwinkle pink, and I'm just gonna go around it. Make it very painterly. Just have to check the time. Oh, I'm sorry I bumped you guys. Oh, my computer has died. Oh, where are we? Okay, yeah, I've been on here a really long time. I'm in the flow, which is awesome. Okay, and I'm just gonna go take some, this is very, I'd say, fluid paint. It's got a really nice consistency, almost the consistency of like slightly melted butter. And I'm thinking, I made some cookies last night that were supposed to be oatmeal cookies. I mean, they were oatmeal cookies, but somehow I made them into Florentines. I don't know if you've heard of Florentine, but I ended, oh, I have to clean the oven because they overflowed. I used too much butter. They were as flat as, like, the whole tray was like covered in a flat cookie. And I thought, okay, well, at least there's something called a Florentine, and at least they did taste good, but they overflowed off the tray because I had on too much butter. They're very greasy. And anyway, that's maybe why I'm thinking about butter. Okay, so we brought out the butterfly with some acrylic paint over a white background, and I don't know how much I love those black marks, but I like that as an artist, I can decide if I want to go back in with a different color of paint. And right now I'm just trying to decide if I want to do anything else. I don't think I'm going to fill my palette with other colors right now because I'm going to probably come to a close soon on our video. I'm really happy with what we've done. I just want to show you that the way I clean my brush is to take my art journal or another piece of paper. This one's great because it's right beside me. And just with energy, get out all of that plastic paint. I'm gonna spritz it, get it out onto this slightly absorbent watercolor paper as to not put it down the drain. And this is quite a beautiful light blue background that just gives me another place to start. So this butterfly, I really looked forward to finishing when it dries. I think I want to do chunky paint over top, maybe write some words on it, and yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you found a way to get inspired with your botanicals or butterflies or the paintbrush that you decided to play with, and watercolors or paints that you haven't used in a while. I hope you revisited those. If anything, I hope I've inspired you in some way, and I appreciate you sticking with me. Right now I can see that my painting is not always in the line of the screen, but hopefully I will keep getting better with time, and I'm really working hard to give you guys high quality videos. So thank you so much. We'll see you soon.